call the meeting to order. I'm Shannon Rutherford, the town planner. This is the Architectural Design Review Committee. And gentlemen, we technically should start with our organizational meeting and election of chair and vice chair, since we haven't done that in a number of years.
Do you have a campaign consultant?
We have and we do have with, you know what, let me do roll call real quick, so we've got that officially for the record. So I'll note, I'm going to go through alphabetical. Miles is absent. Sheldon at the moment is absent. Tim Eagles?
Here.
Jack Kemper?
Here.
Tim LaBouthier?
I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
We sure can. Fantastic.
Hi, Tim.
Thank you.
Dave Quisenberry?
Up here.
Bob Sanford is absent, and Peter Van Beckham.
Here.
Fantastic. Okay. Now we will jump into the organization meeting. So if we're all in agreement, then we will go ahead with that, and I will take a nomination for our chair position. And as a reminder, Tim has been chair, Tim Eagles has been chair. Quite a while.
Since the beginning.
Yeah.
I think you've done a good job. Do you want to keep doing it?
It's so such heavy
term
lifting.
limits are there? We don't have term limits, right?
We can always impeach him if it.
We could. So I will, at this point, I will receive nominations for chair.
I nominate Tim Eagles.
Okay.
Second. Or behind the throne.
Any other nominations? Any discussion regarding the nomination of Tim Eagles as chair?
We did already.
We'd had that pre-discussion? Okay.
As noted.
All right. All in favor as Tim Eagles for chair of the ADRC, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. And vice chair, please. Any nominations for vice chair?
We have one now?
I wasn't sure. I thought it was either Jack or you. I wasn't sure which one of you were technically vice chair, and then I have to go back and find.
I think I might have.
I thought it was you. Yeah. So.
You've done a lovely job too, Jack.
Yeah, I think we ought to keep it going.
Amazing job.
We're all going?
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a nomination for vice chair, please?
Nominate Jack Kemper,
Okay.
vice
And
chair.
And a second,
You
please.
guys can't drive or fly together.
You're in a second. Okay. You can't drive or fly together. That's good. Any other nominations?
We just go to Alabar together, so.
No other nominations? Any discussion regarding the nomination? No. All right. If everyone in favor of Jack Kemper's nomination for vice chair, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. A short speech.
Okay. Well, you could, we'll finish the vote. Any opposed? No, and any abstentions? Okay. All righty. Chair, it's all yours. The agenda's in front of you. Our applicants are here, and I've got everything queued up on the TV.
Welcome, gentlemen. Lady.
That's my wife.
That's fine.
We're still welcoming her.
She's still welcome. She's still welcome to be here.
She wants to know what I do.
So we have the Midpoint Development District informal review, the launch at Farmington. So you guys want to jump in and tell us what's going on and where it's, I would imagine it's changed a little bit from the last time we,
A little bit.
different people.
I'm Charlie Code. I just want to thank everyone for.
You guys, if you want to come up to the
Yeah,
table.
sit at the table.
Yeah, so this is very informal compared to TPZ. You're going to have to, I grabbed a few chairs, but.
Tim's really loud on this thing, so just be careful when he, I was like, whoa.
Just want to thank everybody for coming and meeting with us tonight. As you're probably aware, my father, Abe Code, and Jeff Scott passed away before they could finish this project that they started back in 2018. My brother and I partnered with good people of Conover and East Point to finally move this forward and get it done. That being said, I'll turn it over to them for the details, to Newt, Bill, and Sal.
Why don't we just?
You can do introductions.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, why don't we just give a little introduction?
You guys may or may not remember, I'm Phil Doyle, land planner and landscape architect. We prepared the site plans for this, and we presented to you guys on a number of occasions. And we've got Charlie. Will you run down the...
Sure, Newton Brainerd, I'm Vice President of Development for Simon Conover Corporation, and we're working with the codes to try to move this forward.
I'm Sal Talamo. I'm the principal at Sullivan Architectural Group, and I'm looking to implement the approved design already.
I'm Eric Boyce. I'm an associate at Simon Conover with the acquisition and development team.
And where we are, you have seen the email, I think, that Shannon had sent out. We've went through the approval process. We have the site plan approval, we got our special permit, and we got our master plan approval. And there was always a likelihood that one side or the other was going to move forward, and Shannon put up a plan that I had sent over to her. That plan represents the various parcels within the development. And Jeff Scott, who was the original owner of the property, and you guys all remember Jeff, he also passed away in an accident. So this was one of the interesting projects where we had two great leaders, and both of them unexpectedly passed away. Jeff had been most likely the one to start first because he had that just internal love for those existing buildings on the property. And he had put aside a substantial amount of money and had a vision. He knew what he was going to do, and he was about to start on the trail renovation or extension when he passed away. And because the codes portion was bigger in dealing with a number of buildings, a lot more earthwork, they were taking their time in putting the financing and the contracting together on that. But then when the deaths threw everything into confusion. And there's now a new group that owns the former Scott properties, and they own parcel A, B, and D. So they own parcels that would have the commercial properties on it, and the code group owns parcel C. And what has happened is the reverse of the phasing seems to be in play. They are moving slower because they're learning what's involved with the property, and we're now ready to move. And we've had informal meetings with the town staff in this room, and it was pointed out to us that because the midpoint zone is intended to be a mixed-use zone, and the mixed use had been, got the commercial development where the commercial was, and we've got the residential and the balance. The staff does not feel comfortable in having us go through the site plan amendment if we're moving first without something that reflects commercial use, that as a standalone in the development, we need something in there. And that's really why we're here tonight, because in conversations with town staff, what we've thought about doing, and it shows in the package that Newt had sent over, or maybe it was Robin that gave it to the town staff, we may be interested in taking the portion of the lower floor of our building number 1 and turning that into about 4,600 square feet of commercial space. And Shannon, could you put up this older, it's the approved plan, the one that you had sent out?
Sure. Yeah, I've got to open that one up.
Yeah. And we could point out where building number 1 is. Building number 1 is immediately adjacent to the main driveway that would come in, the boulevard that would come in for the residential development. And so it's very prominent, and it's got a parking lot in front, a double-loaded parking lot. The parking lot in front also serviced the in-building parking spaces. You might remember that on the lower floor, we had two boxes that each box would hold 6 parking spaces. And
All right, there's microphones under the table, at the center of the table, so just watch your feet. So that's what you're gonna hear.
I might have just done that.
Sorry. Booby trapped.
that was not me. So, well, when we were looking at this, Sal had made a suggestion that maybe what we should do is think about leaving that building in its general location, but taking those parking spaces and creating our retail space there, putting more parking immediately in front of the building, and having that might be a nice location because it would be facing the street. We could attract people in who might be bypassing on Farmington Avenue, and our tenants who might be going out or coming in at different points. It might be a convenient place for them to have some retail, and it might, because it's visible to the street, might be a successful opportunity to put a small amount of retail into the development. And do you have the plans that the little bit bigger of that I had sent over? We can just. I'm almost done, but this was the approved planting plan. I just
not colored up and.
I just took that and had given that to Shannon, that shows where the 2 driveway entrances to the building number 1 would be, and how close it is to the driveway. One of the thoughts that I think that Sal had was making sure that we had a space on that lower floor that was adjacent to the underground parking or the in-building parking, making sure that we retained that as a unit. So we flipped this building over. The left-hand side had the garage closest to the edge of the building, the internal section of the site. If you go to the new plan, Shannon, it should be the next one. We flipped it over, and I've colored in here the red with a red line where those retail sections would be, and that allows us a corner unit, a corner retail unit. So that's the change we're looking at making in terms of overall scope. And the details of the building, you guys had presented a recommendation to the TPZ, and I think comments 1 through 5 related to the buildings that were on Jeff Scott's piece. Comments 6, 7, and 8 were comments that related to the residential, and we need to move forward. So we need to engage everybody and try to get this in place so that we can go back to TPC and hopefully do a relatively simple site plan amendment so that we can get going with construction.
So in building 1, there's no parking inside anymore.
There'll be no parking in that building, and thank God Abe was such a pain in my butt, in that he would push and push and push and push and push and push you guys. I need parking. I need parking. I need parking. So we have more than what the code requires. And originally, overall, we had for this development, we had 333 spaces. And the way the regs work, I have to calculate parking for the residential plus parking for commercial. And I'm going to need to add 5 spaces. So we're thank God.
Tag 1 here at the end, tag 1 there at the end, type of thing.
I was always trying to resist him because I thought we were going too far, as you did, and but it helped in the end because now it helps us balance out.
So can I ask a question as to what is on the ground floor, is what I'll call the rear of the building?
That's, let Sal,
Do you want the full setup?
Yeah, like, yeah.
You want this up?
Sure. So the intent and what we're trying to do is to maintain the general integrity of the project and minimize the changes. So we initially took the exact building, which is shown on the bottom, and we flipped it along its short axis to get that unit that's on the right over to the left. And all we're doing is taking the two 6-bay garages and turning them into retail. Other than that, nothing else is changing.
So those are ground level units.
Which they always
Behind.
were. And so what does that look like in elevation? If you go to the next slide, the elevations on the bottom are what was approved. The elevations on the top are what we're pursuing. And all we're doing is we're taking away those garage doors and the smaller fenestration. We're adding larger, more retail fenestration. So as you drive in, now the retail is on the left, and the unit is shown on the right. And if you go to the next slide, we'll show what we're looking at. So the building looks exactly what was approved, except it's got ground level retail, and which was a subtle refinement to meet the retail requirement the property needs.
Is the retail area percentage of the development anywhere defined as to what makes it? I mean, you know what I'm getting at? I mean,
There was not,
just
so
that there's
the
something there.
regulation does not specify the percent of retail.
Oh.
So it was part of an overall master plan, and the master plan, the language of the regulation specifically requires a live, work, play component. It will be really up to certainly with input from you folks, which is why we're starting here, but up to the commission whether or not they feel that phasing this in this fashion that is clearly more heavily residential than commercial, that whether or not they feel that's appropriate and in keeping with the vision of the regulation and the POCD.
Yeah, because,
Well,
no, but again,
looking at the overall of what we
yeah.
talked about.
The reason I'm asking Shannon as to whether there's sort of a requirement is, and architecturally, I like what you've done. It's logical, it's simple, doesn't make you go back to the drawing board, all of that. I like all that. I actually like it, I guess I'd say so much that what I question is why is it just the one building? Because when you first showed the site plan, these first 3 buildings that are closest to Route 4, that parking lot, I realize it's not a street, it's a parking lot, but it kind of almost has a feel of a through street that connects this entrance to the Jeff Scott piece, right? Where the big building and Jack's lovely hot dog stand are and all of that, right? So, and not necessarily all 3 buildings, but I'm just kind of curious, maybe you don't feel there's a need and this is just sort of an accommodation and you'd rather this didn't happen. If you took building 3 and you treated it as a mirror image of building 1, I feel like you'd really kind of liven that streetscape, so to speak, so that as you went down Route 4 and you looked over there, those, and again, you could leave building 2 exactly as is, but the building 1 and 3 would make it feel like that was a commercial sort of side street off of Route 4. I mean, I'm just giving you my initial reaction to this, because I think that would come in, you'd see retail, you drove along, you have retail. When the other section actually happens, then you'd sort of move into a fully more commercial zone. It would just feel very connected. That's my
no assurance that other people will ever.
No, you don't.
Kind of important to consider that possibility.
I agree with the whole, if we were only looking at this, obviously, I don't think it meets the requirements of what the intent is.
Right.
You know, based on the percentage of retail versus a percentage of residential, but with the other piece involved like it originally was, it certainly could. So that's what those guys are gonna have to deal with ultimately.
Right.
You know, planning and zoning. I agree with, you know, your thought that to bring that thing alive would be a nice thing. You know, whether it's buildings 1 and 3 or buildings 1, 2, and 3 that face, Route 4. And I was curious are you guys changing the landscaping along the edge? Because I think originally it was talked to be a pretty heavy buffer and not be able to see in there, but is it more open?
You have a good memory. That buffer is shown on this plan, and we would probably come in and want to have a thinner buffer there.
For the retail.
Because here, when we did it, we wanted those houses to have more, or the units to have more screening from the street.
Right.
But if we have retail, we would keep the shade trees, but get rid of all of the low stuff that was to block all the parking.
Makes sense.
One of the problems, a small problem that may not be so small, that would evolve, if we were looking at this piece in isolation and we had to add, and we did add, let's say we added retail to the building number 3, we then end up having to add about 30 parking spaces someplace. And I'm not sure where we would put them, and our impervious surface would be substantially over the 40% level, so there'd be a number of issues that we would have to address. And I think all of us are, at this point, assuming that the new owners of the A, B, and D parcels, I think they're called superheroes, that at some point they're going to be coming through to complete some level of development over there. So that's our basic assumption.
I think,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, can you hear me? I just had a question.
Yep.
Is this a good time? First, I wanted to say my condolences to all who knew Abe. He was a wonderful man and a great developer, and I feel like I knew him because I saw him on television all those years. But anyway, I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for your loss. It was a loss for all of us here in Farmington and all around the state. I had a question. Just a few things on the plan. When we say that retail is 4,600 feet, is that each, or is that a total of both of the proposed?
That's total 23 each.
All right, so it would be a business that's 2,300 square feet. That would be 46 or 46 for both. Okay, thank you. Do we know how much retail was in the other Shannon, in the other particular buildings and such that was proposed in the other phase? I'm just curious on, we're going from that much to down to 4,600.
So I can walk you through. I don't have the numbers because it was on the cover sheet, and it almost takes up a full side of a 24 by, it's almost a 2-foot long table showing all the uses and whatnot. So
yeah, I mean, we're talking about quite a large amount of retail, and I know that was one of the things. I think when we looked at this plan, it was always, we looked at it together, and the reason we were very excited about all of the retail in the other phase, and the reason we were, I think, acceptable of this much housing was because the idea of mixed use was that we were very excited that the folks in these buildings would be able to walk over to the brewery that was going to be there and all the other things. So I guess we don't have any indication, and I guess we're treating these separately now, but we don't have any indication that particular project will go through at all. I mean, are they giving us an indication that they want to go through? Is it, you're saying they're delaying? I'm just trying to get a sense of, when we had all that retail space, when we had a place where people could walk to all this wonderful stuff, this residential stuff wasn't as much of an issue. But I mean, if we look at this development as a mixed use, then I would agree with the folks that have spoken earlier that, certainly 4,600 feet does not seem like enough, if we're looking at this as a completely separate mixed-use development. I would love it if we had a better sense of what the folks, if indeed they were still doing it. I mean, what I would hate to see is that particular property sit as it sat for the last 15 years, abandoned and deteriorating, when you have this beautiful new development at its right there. And do we have any sense at all on if definitely we're going to be doing this, but we're delayed, or we're working on plans, or we just don't know, or we may just decide we don't want to do this? I'm just curious, because I think that's going to be a factor, as we look at this particular development. That was one question. And my second question is, I'm assuming you're still going through with the walking trail, all the rest of that is still going to be part of this development and such. I know that was another really part of this plan, that we were very excited about the trail along the river, and I just wanted to make sure that that was something that was still part of this.
Yeah, I think we can answer to a degree both of your questions. Internally, just because of proximity to the portions that were owned either by the codes or by Jeff Scott, Jeff was going to take responsibility for lowering the existing Farmington Canal Heritage Trail, and because they owned Parcel D, which was planned to be a bank way down the east, they were going to make a short connection to the sidewalks at the street. And then the code development was going to be building about 2,000 feet of trail in the middle. What the proposal will be here when we go back to zoning is that this group is going to be building all of the trail connection, and that's possible because there are, as part of the contracts, there are bonding, private bonding and the like set up so you can get reimbursed for doing that work. So all of that trail will get reimbursed and will be constructed. I think Charlie has had conversations, or your brother.
My brother Maurice has been in conversation with Enam from Superheroes, and according to Enam, they're getting prices. They were getting prices on the development, and he was in agreement of taking down the houses in the front, and he was all for it. He was all for moving forward, verbally. I mean, we have, in the talks with him, he's been asking how far we are so they can plan to move along. So the conversations my brother has had with Enam have been very positive. So that's where he is now. Yeah.
Does circulation work without?
Yeah, where does, can you guys show us on that map, which is, are those two, I can't remember, are those two buildings?
Yeah, those two buildings nearby are Building H, and then you see G, where Shannon just had.
They're yours or they're theirs?
No, they're theirs.
Okay.
So that's when we go back to.
Let's go back to that, yes.
One.
And those are proposed new buildings, right?
A, B, and D.
Proposed new buildings,
Yes.
right?
The H and G are new buildings, but on this plan, what you see. Go back to that
Yep.
plan. Go back to the survey. On Building B, we have 2 units, and those are both rental housing units that are on a month-to-month. And when you do a phased development, we've all worked on them before, and you come near the edges, there's always a little bit of overlap, because we're taking utilities. We've got a gas line and a water line that's coming in from this private road here, running all the way through the development and coming up. So we'll be stubbing various pieces of utility through and coordinating with Superheroes on that. Those buildings are coming down, and I think Charlie and Maurice have had conversations with Superheroes that they're going to be taking them down. But to build and finish the stormwater basins, we have 2 stormwater basins that are interconnected. They're number 150. Those 2 basins, we're going to be grading on the Superheroes property and establishing the grades for this future building. We'll be running the stubs for the septic and then taking all of the stormwater here and running that into our basin. So some of our work is going to include the utilities and the grading that we need to make sure the edges blend well, and so that when Superheroes goes forward, they don't have to tear up our pavement and our development to get to the utilities. We'll stub all of the utilities out. So there's already coordination going ahead, and we're assuming that they're coming along behind us. So,
But until they're done, will there be just one entrance to your property, to your project?
well, we're going to look at that in two ways. SLR, you remember, is our traffic consultant, and they're going to be looking to make sure that the driveway we put in is adequate for all of our development. But what we're going to be doing is proposing in here to make the connection to the edge of their pavement where the future driveway is supposed to be. And at this point, because they're going to be under construction behind us, my plan is suggesting that be a binder course and not be the final course, because the whole thing's going to get torn up. And at the moment, we're also suggesting that have a temporary gate, because we don't know what's going to be happening in terms of construction, and we don't want construction vehicles running through our project. So those details still have to be worked out.
So it would be one access to this until that's done?
We're expecting that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
And
Because the driveway that's next to the building H or G or whatever it is, up on the road, the one to the right, next one down,
this way.
that's on your property or on their property?
That's all on parcel B, which is Superheroes.
I couldn't tell how wide it was compared to, it looks skinnier on that other plan.
Yeah,
That looks
it
like it's
lies-
on your, if I had to guess.
The property line is very close.
yeah, so you can
Oh, it
see
does
that.
widen out
So
there,
you
okay.
can see this,
I got it.
this is, that follows the curb line, and when I
Yep.
come back,
I got it.
Yeah, it was-
I forgot it widened out.
we had all sorts of fun with those easement documents. So, yeah, it pretty much it's like 2 feet off the edge of curve.
Yep.
And then it's just this parking, because the basin is on the code piece, and it cuts through, so it's like a barbell, or kind of.
The survey, we're looking at the whole property, we're not looking at the whole property, so it's a little.
No, understood. I see now that on the survey it widened out there.
Really, the challenge as we, Simon Connor Company, have gotten in to try to understand this, the challenge that we've uncovered is you've gone from two partners and friends who are trying to push this together and ready to go to somewhat unrelated entities. So for us, when we come in and look at the residential development, you really can't move forward unless you can bifurcate them, because a bank or whomever is never going to lend you money if you can be held up for whatever reason by the neighbor. So we want it all to happen, but in my mind, the only way that their project is going to happen is if our project happens. Because once we invest $40 or $50 million, one of two things happen. They either figure out a way to do what they're going to do, or the value has gone up, they'll sell, and the next person's going to come in and do it. I think practically that's what's going to happen, and without that, I think it all sits. So that's the puzzle that we're trying to put together. We're not trying to, push this through and have no retail, but I firmly believe by the residential going, it unlocks the entire thing, because the fact that Abe and Jeff are no longer able to do it together.
And can I ask a question that you might know about the parking? And again, one of the issues with trying to put any more retail on the site than the 4,600 square feet was parking. If the Planning and Zoning Commission felt that from a planning point of view and an attractive and compliance point of view, that having retail in 1 and 3 made sense, and can they make relief on the parking requirement, or parking so that the so that they don't have to build these spots that don't have any necessarily good place to go. And they say, well, we want retail, and you say, well, we don't have a place to put the parking, and they go, well, how about we let you do the retail and you don't have to put the parking? Is that within their purview?
Off the cuff, I don't know. I have to start, I pull the regs up and for all of you while we start pouring.
Because in a lot of towns where I do work, you know, they'll have certain percentage of parking that you can put into reserve or whatever, and if you find that people are parking on the curbs and things like that, they make you do it, and if you say, look, I really don't need this much parking because I've got a, you know, whatever, a nail salon or a dry cleaner, people pull in, pull out, and no, you know, there's no reason to have 12 parking spaces.
So in our base parking regulation, there is a mechanism for deferring parking.
Yeah.
Typically, the requirement is that it is still shown on the plan. So there's
It's
a
not built.
demonstrated location that it could be built if it was needed, and the impervious coverage calculated as such. And it can be up to 25% of the parking with good cause, right? There has to be justification for it with the prescriptive understanding that if they are told that this isn't working and now we're finding your car, you know, right there, the cars are parking all in the gallery salon or whatever, and we're getting, and people are cutting through or whatever happens to be the case. Then within 6 months of being directed to install the parking, they must do so. But it's still predicated, they have to be able to demonstrate that that parking
somewhere
can be shown somewhere. Perhaps the easiest thing would be to secure an easement from the neighbor property.
Yeah.
Right, somewhere in here or somewhere up in here, secure an easement that says if we need to build the additional parking in the interim while we're waiting for you, that we could do so. But because this is all going to be disturbed anyhow, as they do the trail work, right, the trail comes down and comes down through here. So this whole embankment, everything we're used to seeing there is all going to come down. So this area is going to end up mostly disturbed. There had been a detention basin there. Now the detention basin, like the stormwater, all gets reworked. Sanitary sewer line had come kind of through these buildings, and now the sanitary sewer line has got to be reworked and come up through and be in the roadway. So it's all getting dug up anyhow. But that's, and then I would have to look at the nuance. I think the midpoint refers back to our regular parking standards to a certain extent. There may have been some one-offs with respect to quantity of residential parking and how that was calculated.
Were these originally approved as two separate things with parking here and parking there, or one?
So when they subdivided, hey Phil, remember this? We have fun with this. When they subdivided, so they didn't subdivide the property. They did a lot line modification for these, and we had to make sure that each parcel was compliant in itself. So that A, B, C, D is compliant with respect to the parking. So they can sustain independently because of that, because they were separately owned, and it also then would allow these to be bought and sold separately. The thought being that it's developed, right? None of us dreamed of being in this position. The thought was in the future it's all done, and then they want to sell off a piece. It can sustain, it's its own entity.
Like in our plaza, there's different owners, but there's a shared parking agreement between all of it.
Right. So this was done so that the parking would be independent. That was something Abe was very adamant about. He wasn't really keen on a shared parking anything. So that was, so then when they put these lines in, again, there were already 4 parcels, so it was a lot line modification to accommodate this. There's a number, I want to say Bruce and I went through, there's somewhere between 5 to 7 easement agreements that we reviewed. There's a conservation easement, the sanitary sewer easement, the trail, sidewalk, there's a utility, and there's a cross-access easement. And then the gentlemen had their own financial agreements that we weren't party to. Some of them, there's loose references in there with respect to performing work and the ability if one performs and one isn't, then there's escrow funds. But from a parking standpoint, I'm pretty sure there was no shared parking. Access,
Well,
yes.
they're at 6, they need to get the lucky 7, you guys could share parking between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, because just looking at this plan, I mean, in whatever it is, by the trail there, behind the big building, which is gonna be, wasn't it gonna be like self-storage or something?
McCallum Building, so the McCallum Building was going to be primarily, and Phil, jump in if I start, because you did this day to day more than I did, but the bottom floor was going to be a brewery, some shops, another restaurant space.
Okay.
There was going to be an access cut through to the back, so
I
that you
remember
could have
that, yeah.
patio seating at the back. The next floor, at one point we had some art studio space.
Correct.
And then, yes, there were some storage.
It's really low floor to floor, like it's super compressed,
Yeah,
right?
the ceiling heights were really very industrial, and all the columns are large concrete columns that
Large columns,
flare
yeah.
at the top. So we had the base floor was commercial, retail, restaurant. The second floor, I think, had the art studio, maybe.
Correct.
And then third and fourth floor were storage.
One floor, though, was the storage,
Yep.
and one floor was the, office space,
Okay, there was office.
There was like the rental office where you can come in and, rent a conference room.
Sure, for like a day
WeWork.
rental, flex office space.
Correct.
And then the towers were going to be, I think there was either 2 or 4, we were tinkering with numbers at one point, but 2 or 4 residential units at the top, as the tower of the building, with a patio like rooftop patio access for those.
Yeah, the reason I ask is just it seems like there's a ton of parking on that side of the site. Seems like, almost like an excessive amount of parking. That building F is not a very big building, and it's got a massive parking lot.
Both of these, so this building and this building are 3-story.
Oh, they are?
They're both 3-story
Okay.
with commercial on the bottom, and then 2 floors of res above.
Okay, I didn't realize.
So that was the vision for those two. So
the parking is probably correct for what's on the site.
Bruce, who you all know, is very particular about how he runs. And Bruce is a friend of all of ours. He's just, but every time you submit a set of site plans, you get 5 series of letters back from Bruce making sure that everything is done correctly. And he made sure that every parking space was accounted for. And the way the Farmington regs, and Shannon will double check everything, but the way the regs work is that they do provide some flexibility if you want to defer parking into the future, but you have to make sure that you have everything already shown on the site. And so all of the commercial spaces and the few residential spaces on the Jeff Scott portion of the property, those were counted explicitly to account for residential, commercial, retail, some restaurant. All of those were particularly broken out. If we were all sitting around a table in the town of Canton, we wouldn't be having this debate, because they have built into their parking regs, both for the area on Route 44 and for the Collins Company rehab, a mixed-use parking analysis that comes out of the ULI. And we're able to account for time of day, occupancy, all of those studies that have been done, so you don't need this much parking, and that's where you're going.
Yeah.
But that would have to be a separate regulation that would be adopted by the Planning and Zoning Commission into the code, and that's usually something that people are a little bit afraid of. And, at that, we don't have that flexibility.
Me too, we're waiting to see, we're hoping either IT or the Urban Land Institute would do updated studies, right? So we've seen there's a swing in office space, right? So the office space parking demand has dropped way down. Some of the residential has perhaps climbed with people working from home, right? So your flexible, so some of those ratios and studies that were done that set those ratios apply pre-COVID and don't necessarily work the same way post-COVID, because that transfer of demand is very different now. And I've asked a couple of people that do this, a couple of traffic engineers that I know, have you seen an updated study? I'd love to get my hands on this to try to help justify on our office end. Right, it's crazy. We're killing people. I'm like, this is ridiculous. We don't need this much parking. And we can look at all the aerials, right? We can look at the aerials pre-COVID and the parking. Yeah, I've got places on Batterson Park. We increased the parking by 1/3, and now the whole thing, it's a ghost town out there, right? You get 1/3 of the parking is used on when you look at the aerial going through. But it's getting, we had to get to a point where we kind of hit equilibrium that you can even do the study and then start to have that done. And how much of that stays, or is there going to be a trend, incremental trend pushed back to offices? It makes it really hard to understand how to do that, and particularly with this being so heavy residential. How many of them are leaving during the day, or are they really working from home? And when, whatever, any number of things that aren't this, right? We're so used to the work we do day in and day out. You need to be in the office, you need to be interacting, but there's a whole other platform of abilities that they've just everything they need to from home. So it throws some of those ratios.
Well, it's not 5 days a week anymore either. That's a problem. 4 days in the office, 1 day at home. Where the hell is everybody park on Friday?
Right, yeah, exactly. Right.
I'm glad I'm not doing this thing.
Right.
What else do we need to talk about with, like, the architecture and?
That's okay.
I am vice chair. Before we move on, I had a question. You said that, you thought without the Scott Soul, that didn't happen, this wouldn't happen. Is that?
No, he
I know, it's
said
just the opportunity to separate them and let this, I think this one's ready to go. One will unlock Scott parcel. But if this one just sits, in my opinion, the Scott parcel is gonna sit for a long time until it changes hands. Because it's a huge investment that we would be putting here that proves a lot of things and activates the entire place. And then all of a sudden, it's an easy, whatever they do next door is easy.
Architecturally, I think it's an improvement. So, it's a garage, the storefront is nicer than garage doors. So I think that's pretty simple. So that's good.
Okay.
I like the idea of more retail. I just wonder who would rent it.
Well, I just thinking about this for the first time. I mean, I don't love it. The idea of it doesn't bother me. I don't think it's terribly viable, stuck kind of over there.
Yeah.
Can't see it, mom and pop retail in the first place is difficult, but it's really buried. I'm worried enough about the 4,500 feet that we have. That's just an economic thing for me. I just having an empty retail building is not the best.
And they're too small. One retail space or two little ones.
Right. You're gonna have, you'll probably get, hopefully one or two here, but I get a little worried about the far one. It's just, you can't see it from the road, and it's very buried, and.
Yeah. That gives me my other question. Sure. If the other project goes, would you be able to turn this back?
I'm thinking the same thing. I mean, I'm sure, yes, you could. Anything's possible. I mean, I'll defer to.
They were garages originally.
Yeah.
Right. You could do.
Go back to garages.
Well.
So they wouldn't be able to go back, so
You couldn't add units.
You can't add units.
Oh, okay.
So the unit count is based on the the land area, so the unit count is already set.
Right.
And there's so many,
Got it.
so many
Yeah, 'cause units in-
residential units were
Okay.
allocated to parcel C, and then there are residential units allocated to B and A, and that's it. And tried all sorts of rounding scenarios, and I'll leave it at that. So that's it. So they could go back to garages, or they can stay, storefront.
Then they should stay storefront.
Well, yeah, yes, it depends if if it's been a repeated pain because they can't stay rented, then
I could
it's
see
a conversation.
these places like up in Simsbury and a different place where they put the, retail in, and it's stayed empty for years.
I mean, even if it's on you see a bunch of these mixed-use things where, it's on the road or it's a little more urban.
Right.
They definitely work.
Yeah,
But people expect to go there as a retail thing. People are not going to expect to go, particularly as a retail destination, especially kind of down the road at the end of the line there. I'm just giving my honest opinion towards the viability.
Change the landscape would be good to make it more visible. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's interesting when you guys were just saying that. I was thinking about it, and on the one hand, yes, I'd like the retail to be more visible, but on the other hand, like our more important tenancy are our residents who live there 24 hours. The retail is a loser, a financial loser, basically, for us. So I want it to succeed. Obviously, I don't want it to be empty, but I think I'd rather screen it because I want the people who live there at night when the retail goes to bed to have quiet. And anyway, I'm thinking on my feet here, so that's just my thought.
We're kind of saying
It'll
it
die.
can't really be mixed use. We can fill the spaces for mixed use, but token and.
Well, right, and unless we have the bigger vision, right? And that's the impediment that I understand why we're there. That's why we're there, and that's why I'm kind of a believer in the bigger thing, because I think everybody in town and who've approved this want the total development, as do we. But it's an impossibility to do it in concert with the neighbor who we just don't know anything about. It doesn't work.
Have you tried to acquire that parcel and do the entire development?
Yeah, we've had multiple conversations. They're very nice. They just, they're just sitting back and waiting. I've multiple meetings said, the best thing that can happen to you guys is we built this thing. So I think they get that, and they'll be helpful, with easements and stuff like that. But other than that, I just don't know. It's not what they do for a living, particularly. Well, I mean,
Who are they? What are they?
They own a bunch of retail, but I don't know that development is on there.
How did they end up with the property?
They bought it
From the estate?
They bought it out of the estate.
Excuse me?
They bought it out of the estate.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what the deal was, but Jeff's estate needed to clean that out, and that's where the parcel was purchased.
To buy it, Peter.
Slow on the draw, yeah.
But I remembered Abe talking to me, because Jeff passed away first, and then Abe laughed, and he said, "Should I buy this?" And my comment was, yes, you'd rather control, and then, so if you want to sell it or sell part of it, you could. But he then got sick, and that never happened.
Who are these superhero people? Do we know anything about them?
Doesn't matter.
Well, it matters a little bit to me. I mean, we're kind of being asked to predict their actions, and so whatever their expertise or history is, I think,
Right,
might help inform that.
I think the prediction, again, I've been saying, the prediction is the market forcing that to be built, right?
Yes.
I don't ever see that going first. It just doesn't make any sense particularly. But what will force it is a development next door that, spends tens of millions of dollars.
It's going to become really valuable.
Right.
For somebody else to develop.
Right. So they'll either flip it and, make some money, or they'll do it themselves because they'll see value in it.
Like we said, he has been talking about doing it. He's been getting prices from developers. He's also been talking about the first floor He's working with somebody to rent out the entire first floor, whether that happens or not.
He's been working with you for easements.
We haven't gone that far, just,
Well, we talk about that,
We've talked
we're gonna, if we do, there has to be some, and there's, as Shannon said, there are some things in place, but again, they need to be firmed up because they were done between two people who knew each other and trust each other. Not that we don't trust them, but our lender probably won't.
and, well, we met with them.
Yeah, several times.
You laid it
Very-
all out, you explained to
Yep.
them, we met several times with them, explained what needed to be done, and they were on board with all of that.
By the way, the food in the hot dog stands, really good.
Yeah.
Very good.
They have some retail.
Well, that's what they have a few restaurants and they have several, retail shops, many retail shops, so I think they bought this as an investment.
Is it Euro Place?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is the Euro, yeah.
They should have hot dogs still in memory of Jeff.
Do they still have hot dogs?
Yeah, that's what it
Oh,
says on the bottom.
I did
In
not,
memory of Jeff.
I did not realize it.
It's kind of cool.
Carol asked us if she could move the building to Torrington, actually. We had the structural engineers talking about it and stuff. It didn't make any sense, unfortunately.
Build a new building in Torrington.
So what else do we want to, what do you want from us?
This is informal. I will do meeting minutes for this, so, and have you check them like I normally do, so we've got the gist. And then the discussion, meeting minutes will be shared, so they get posted. So it will also be shared with TPZ when these gentlemen are ready to move ahead with an application. And then as part of the application process, there's an official review we can discuss at that point. We may just have it come through, even if it's via email, or if we're meeting anyhow on other things, we can have them, come in and just do a quick, hey, this is what it's going to look like in final. We met with you in March, and this is where we are in whatever, April, May, June. I don't think April, because I don't have an official application yet, but
No.
May, June, July, something to that effect, and say, okay, this is what we're doing. To the extent that you've got, and I know, right, so the midpoint development is not the same as our two center districts where we're picking materials and picking whatever, but at that point, if there is something with respect to signs, lights, windows, door, like there is something from a preference that you want to convey, that would be the time to do it with respect to some particular on the materials. And then that recommendation will go to TPZ for discussion at that point then.
Okay.
Under the official application arm.
Great.
Any other questions, feedback needed? I think we've probably taken the conversation as far as we can for this evening.
I had one more thing I wanted to present, just get a sense of. In developing these buildings, there's two things that haven't been considered. And so I understand there's a certain integrity that the approval has, but with the hipped roofs, there's no real way to vent it properly. So I have an idea for that I'd like to share, as well as the mechanical systems haven't been considered. And so I also have a rendering that shows what adding a specific mechanical system that might have exterior louvers on them. So I have it on a thumb drive if we want to share it, but this is the rendering I was talking about, where I would add these end gables here on the ends of each building so I can get a vent to vent the roof properly. So the building still does tear down, that this ridge is not higher than this ridge. It's just a means of getting the proper airflow. Secondly, I'm adding these louvers that would be the same color as the siding it sits in, to get the proper mechanical equipment that wants to support this lifestyle.
You want to put it up so Tim could see it? Shannon, could you?
I have a thumb drive.
I can't, unfortunately, I can't do, because it's a my IT might actually, I lose all my fingers, so I can't put a thumb drive
Sorry,
on that
Tim.
main computer.
All right. I guess, describe again, are we talking about another vent? Is it something that's going on the roof? I'm just trying to
It's
visualize.
a change to the end of the roof.
Dormer, kind of, or gable.
So the gable on the end, I think, actually improves the end elevation.
Yeah, it makes it a little more interesting.
So I
So
think,
able to find this.
So
the,
the gable's coming up here, Tim, on this,
Oh,
on this
okay.
end, on each end?
Yeah.
I'm asking Sal, so gable here on each end for airflow through the roof system. Again, I'm an engineer, I'm not an architect, so.
So that's one
You
contiguous.
wanna drive, here,
Yes.
Sal, drive.
But you're gonna have.
There you go.
So right now, there's an eve line that is straight across.
Yeah.
Just like how this rake goes up and down, I would put a rake up and down here and then bring a ridge back. That's lower than this ridge. And then that would allow me to get a vent on this side, just adding more ventilation as opposed to putting, roof-mounted vents
Hang on,
to get
yeah.
there. Right, and so it does add a little bit more scale to this, and it would properly align, with this surface here, which is a different shade. And then the other idea that we're proposing is, in these areas here, there would be about a 22 by 30-inch louver that would be the same color as the material it sits in, for like a packaged unit, HVAC unit.
those would just be painted out to match siding or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
mini-
same color.
mini-
I think that's
mini
fine.
units,
Right.
Basically?
No,
No.
it's like a magic pack system. It's where the condenser is on top of the air handler, so there's no condensers anywhere.
Oh, okay,
That's what we
I
mean
don't
by
know
a
that.
packaged unit.
okay.
But it has to sit on the exterior wall with a slightly larger louver.
Think of what you see in a hotel room, except it's in a closet with a duct coming off it.
Okay,
It just sticks through the wall.
got it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Deck.
I actually think the roof looks better with.
I totally agree.
You know, I mean, no, I thought you were gonna show us a bunch of mushrooms and ducts coming out of the roof or whatever. This,
Avoid.
yeah, this is really, I like this a lot.
And to make sure we're not going down the wrong.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Don't want to surprise anybody if
Yeah.
I suggest it.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Good. Okay.
Thank you guys for
Thank
coming.
you for coming in.
Spending your Wednesday.
All right.
Is that a Thursday?
Oh, it's a Thursday, okay.
Oh, fine.
Tough week. Sorry.
Later all week, so.
Yeah, how are you? Yeah, it has. Oh, Nick, good to see you. Congratulations on being chair, yeah.
Again, thank you guys. Last 25
I don't
years,
know,
thank you.
that's a good idea. Hi, Newt. You never know. Good to see you, Peter.
Thank you guys for.
Thanks, Charlie. Thank you, Phil. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Your wife was not paying attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm glad I sent that stuff over to you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Always, I appreciate it. Thank you. Yep.
See you, thank you.
All right, can we, real quick, we were gonna just humor our clerk, so we're gonna
Sit on the
approve
other
the meeting minutes from last summer. It was about Enclave.
I wasn't here, so I can't.
All right, well, somebody can approve. Somebody can approve the meeting minutes. So, I need a motion and a second, but I swear to you, they were distributed at the time I did them.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second it. Can I second even though
That's
I
why you
wasn't
guys
here?
are in
Sure,
leadership.
because you probably read, you read them.
Yeah. I think
So, all right.
they were about me.
They were about you. Did you present? No, somebody else presented.
Mark from my
Yeah, no,
office.
you can't second it. I need somebody else to second it. Thank
Can I,
you.
if I wasn't here, can I second?
Yeah, that's fine. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Well, I
JK
can't
is
even vote.
abstaining because it's his project.
Might as well.
Tim, yeah, I know, I grabbed him, I heard him. Yep, okay. Okay, well, this was fun getting everybody
It
back
is very
together.
nice. It's good.